Get ready to quit the build.
Here we go.
The QTB crew is rounding up all the gaming news and hot topics of the week with a little extra something. And here are your hosts, Bruno, Brad, and Nick.
What it do? You're listening to the QTB podcast. I'm your host, Bruno, and with me are the boys of QTB, our co-hosts, Nick and Brad. What's going on? Crowd, it's 75 and sunny, which means our street squad's going to be out there looking for them super stickers.
Super stickers.
Nick.
That's a Family Guy reference for those of you that are going to be like, wait, I never got a super sticker. Our Patreon, we have some Patreon supporters that got a super sticker.
I can tell you this, it's not 75 and sunny for me right now. It is frigid
Not
as
at
you
all.
can't
It
believe.
is.
Oh my gosh. People have been sharing on the Discord just our, the different ranges of temperatures in the snow that a lot of like the mid-east is getting right now. I'm seeing people posting negative temperatures. Yeah, I don't want negatives. Okay, if it's negative, we're considering a climate change because that ain't working for this guy. I was a winter guy when it resulted
fire
in
up the
school
fossil
cancellation
fuels and get that global warming going again, right?
That doesn't happen anymore, Nick. You can't cancel school because everybody's just online. So they're just going to say, you got to go online now.
It is so sad.
That
It is
sad
so
sucks.
sad. Like they were, my wife was just talking about this because she's a teacher about how like there's this whole system being set up now that like, well, we already have a virtual, arm of things. So why don't we just set it up where if school is canceled, that these kids still have school? And it's like, oh man, it's just the magic is gone of being like, hey, calling up your buddy and being like, hey, school's canceled. I'm bringing over the GameCube. I don't
Snow day.
Bring it over the GameCube. Mom's going to drop me off.
You got Lunchables, right?
Yeah, it's cool if I stay the night if she can't get there, right?
I'm getting stuck on purpose, buddy. That's right. Oh man,
those were the days.
It was, yeah. Episode 137 here of the podcast, and once again, we are live streaming there across many different platforms. Of course, TikTok in that mix. Shout out to everybody that's watching right now. We got our sponsor, Winner in the audience. We got somebody, Megan.QTB, Alejandro, and Jess. And of course, don't forget Court Nene over there and Sire. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us here as we record this and talk about the latest gaming news because, at the end of the day, Quit the Build, we're about community. And while it's fun talking about the news, I think it's even more fun bringing in our viewers, our fans, the people that are supporting us to get their takes on what's going on in the gaming world as well. Right, Brad?
Yeah.
Completely. I 100% agree. I mean, we're about what's going on in the world, but we're about what's going on with our family. And we love to get your take on what we're talking about. I mean, because you're just as much knowledgeable and valuable on what we're talking about as we are. So we love to hear what you have to say in the chat. And Nick does a really good job of checking in on that because I don't. So say what you need to say. Nick will see it and we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. And talk we will because it has been a very, very busy week for news. The big stories we're going to be getting into a little bit later, talking about everything from, great news about this release of Hi-Fi Rush on Xbox and beyond, and of course on Game Pass, just exceeding sales targets in a way that you're not going to be expecting, and also a story about Rumbleverse, which is another a Battle Royale style game from, of course, Fortnite, Mega Giant, Epic Games, it seems like we are once again seeing the consequences of just a live service environment where everybody's trying to get people to play their games for 100 hours per season. And there's just so many hours in the day that I can barely keep up with one, let alone them all. So, we'll get into that. That I think is going to be a good topic about just the Battle Royale, or at least the live service space right now, and how developers and publishers can try and find their piece of the pie without requiring all of your time, right? But of course, guys, before we get into that, one big topic we always like talking about is going around the horn, as it were, and saying what you've been playing this week. So I guess we'll start with what do you got? What do you got, Bruno? Yeah, I know you're a busy dude, but I mean, you got some games going on, man.
Actually, I've been playing a little bit of everything. I've been playing Grid Legends. Getting in there with that. Downloaded some new stuff for Assetto Corsa because they always have some new goodies on there. I tried out a new little product, the resolution converter, and it didn't quite work for me. I think this is actually a good solution for anyone that has a cheaper rig that's not one by Fanatec, anything from Logitech, and actually you can plug this in and use your Logitech wheel, which is usually proprietary to either PlayStation or Xbox, and then use it with anything in any game, including like Mario Kart and that kind of stuff. So really cool product. Unfortunately, just didn't work with the setup that I have. It's just a little bit it's a newer one, so they haven't quite caught up to that yet. So I'm hoping that maybe down the future they're going to have that. But I've been trying to just enjoy gaming when I can, and of course, Nick, I've been spending this week playing GoldenEye. Okay, I'm going through.
Of course, yeah.
It released. I'm super stoked about that. I know I got a sound in here somewhere for that. We'll find it eventually, but I'm telling you, it is just amazing to be able to go back and play this game. Finally.
Yeah.
After so many years, we gamers have been looking forward to this release, and I don't even care that it's not remastered, right? Like, I just wanted to play it with modern controls.
Okay.
And Xbox has delivered that, like, in a package that you can get right with Game Pass, or if you have Rare Replay, it's a free update on that. So a lot of that was actually a free game a while back on Xbox Live Gold. So hopefully, everyone has access to that. But an amazing game. The only thing it's lacking, of course, is online multiplayer, which is exclusive to Nintendo. But then again, Nintendo has not updated the control scheme. So if you get on there, you're going to be confused as all get out trying to figure out where to go. And I realized that that's why we're so good at first-person shooters, because it was so archaic. Remember that, Brad? Remember the N64 controller?
Yeah, I do. I actually was reading an article, and they were talking about ranking controllers all time and which were the best and worst controllers. And I have to tell you, this article was kind of giving a shout out in a not so good way to the N64 controller, because that thing was just all over the place, right? I mean, joysticks and the D-pad and the yellow arrows. What other controllers had yellow? I mean, but if we could figure out how to shoot on that and aim on that, I mean, no wonder we're doing so good on the, these Xbox, and PS5 controllers these days.
Definitely.
Yeah. We were ready for dual sticks, because it's been an interesting comparison point. A lot of people are chatting about the differences between the versions right now, and the online multiplayer is really just it's a technicality, because the Switch has the ability for people to remote into your session. So it's not like there's some kind of like online matchmaking. You are very much just emulating the original game. And with that comes a huge downside on the Switch side, which is that you have to play it with the original controls. A lot of people, they don't have the N64 controller. It is very hard to come by, and the aftermarket price on this thing right now is like 3-4 times what you would pay for it on the Nintendo shop, because it's so in demand. So if you don't have that, then you're pretty much going to be trying to use a regular 2-axis thumbstick, and you're like, wait a second, no, this is how do I aim? It was funny because somebody was showing. There are a billion.
Lots of controls in there. You go into settings, a lot of different ones. People have found some ways that you can get around that to give yourself modern controls. Yeah. There is a way to look it up, but it's not native, right, Nick? Like you still have to do some finagling.
Finagling is an understatement, yeah. And I saw someone figure out, like, if you have 2 controllers, you can use, there's an actual, like, control scheme in there in the original game that uses two controllers. One for looking around and one for movement. So you can actually use 2 N64 controllers to get a modern experience.
We need a QTB word jar. Finagling's like a $4 word. I want to put some in that jar.
That's gotta be. Oh, I'm
just saying, right?
The consonants alone, yeah. But that's a good one. But anything else you've been hopping into there, Bruno?
Between that and trying to keep up with a little bit of Fortnite, especially considering Dragon Ball's what is this, Dragon Ball Super, I think, released today. So they got like Gohan, Son Gohan, and Piccolo have been added to it. So I gotta go and grab Son Gohan and add that to the collection, of course. So I'm gonna be jumping on some Fortnite here. There's just so many games right now and so many games coming out. I'm excited about Hogwarts Legacy. I gotta tell you, Brad, let's ask you, first of all, are you excited about Hogwarts Legacy? Is that something you plan on picking up?
Oh yeah, I would say the only person that's more excited about that than I am is my wife. She wanted to pre-order it and is ready to get into that game like you can't believe. And I'm like, honey, we're getting it for the Series X because it's going to look so much more incredible on that than any other platform. So yes, you better be ready. We, not just me, we will be diving into that game quite a bit. So my wife is a Harry Potter super fan. So
sure. And Bruno, you were saying that some of the early reviews for that, our impressions are coming in, and it's looking like it's going to be, on the critical side, a big success.
It's actually being developed by WB Games, which is developed or being published rather by them. But, they've got their hand in a lot of great games, as well as the Arkham series, which was just an amazing series that built upon itself. And I think that that's something that's going to be really helpful for Hogwarts Legacy. I know the team behind it has done everything in their power to be forthright and open and honest with what this game actually is. And I think that it is the game we've been waiting for. That's what I'm hearing from reviewers like T. Martin and a lot of people who got early access to the game. It's something that we would have, absolutely loved to have had when we were growing up, and they just came out with a Harry Potter game. And I think we've all been wanting to step into that role where we get to be a part of the experience. We get to create our own character, because as kids growing up in the 90s, Nick, we did not get our Hogwarts letter. Remember?
It never came.
It never came.
Some people are still waiting.
Yep, still waiting. So it could all be in there. I mean, who knows? Yeah. They do call me Bruno Stradamus.
They do. And the ones that are still waiting for their letter. Yeah, go ahead.
I got a letter from the president when I got married, but I couldn't get a letter from Hogwarts. I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
What?
Dude. You didn't know that?
You're a
lesson of the day.
Okay.
If you send in your wedding invitation to the White House, you'll get a letter, a little congratulatory letter from the president.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that. Okay.
That's awesome. I was reading a Life Pro advice tip on Reddit, I think it was, talking about how, like, hey, if you're going to get married, send a wedding invitation to like every billionaire that exists in the States, because what'll happen is their receptionist, because they're not going to take the mail. The receptionist is going to get it and be like, oh, we got to send them a gift, like they must know us. And you could very easily end up getting a toaster from Elon Musk. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So you could get a
toaster that's been to space.
A space toaster.
A space
toaster.
Yeah.
Where's Tim Curry?
It's a solar toaster. It just runs on solar power.
Set him off. TikTok, set him off.
So there he goes. Oh, I got to enable that for these streams. Yeah. But yeah, so great stuff. Yeah. Wow. What a segment there, Bruno. I know, on my side, we're going to be diving into this a little bit later. I made sure to play a little time there with Hi-Fi Rush that did come out this week. I'm just excited for this week in games in general, because also, was it Age of Empires 2 is getting an Xbox and I believe Game Pass release. I put in some hours because I had a potato PC like most people back in the 90s and the early 2000s. My little gateway, came in the cow box and never got upgraded. And
I remember that.
Yeah, there were only certain games you could play that really didn't push the 3D envelope, and Age of Empires 1 and 2 ran beautifully on my PC. Just a great strategy game. It's a lot of fun, and I've heard it's got some modern, creature comforts there to properly translate it from a mouse and keyboard over to a controller. So I'll be playing that. Aside from that, mostly just been spending a little more time building out my my retro game collection, which has been fun because I've had a chance to go to actual retro game stores kind of in my vicinity, and just seeing what they have available. It's very important because I'm learning the hard way that it's very possible in these days when games command a high price that people will create reproductions of the original packaging. So much so that unless you are a very savvy consumer, you would never know that what you're actually taking is not the original thing. And then, of course, as a collector's item down the road, that may not have the same value. So it's very important that I actually go and actually inspect it. So no joke, there was one place where I'm like, okay, and I'm going to put on a show for this guy. They bring out the game from behind the case. Because it's a fairly uncommon game, and your boy gets out the rubber glove. Okay, I got the rubber glove. I said, I got to inspect this. I got to inspect this. Okay, so I'm pulling it open. I'm pulling I'm looking for the serial number on the disc. I'm looking for all the little features. Your boy's been doing research. It's like Antiques Roadshow out here. Yeah. And then I'm like, no, not good enough for this guy. You can put that back. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Denied. What?
I'm telling you,
I don't even have a button for that, Nick. I don't.
You didn't think I'd do something like that. Yeah, you just didn't think I'd do something like that.
I didn't. I just like the amazing audacity you had when we walked into the casino and you said, "I'm beelining to the roulette table."
Yeah,
and. I mean,
one and done.
If you want the rest of that story, go listen to QTV Nights.
Oh, QT, that's right. Our bonus Patreon episode. We'll be getting into our Patreon stuff a little bit later.
With the ultimate tease right there.
That's a big time one.
It really was. It really was one of the best. It's still one of the best stories. Even though it was a secondhand story for me.
And you guys got to witness it. You were there.
I'll round out the segment, Nick. Here, I haven't. You know what? This week, just like our mantra, quit the build. Your boy quit, took a break. He said, I need to, step back, take a break, refresh, kind of recharge the batteries, step away, because then, you just want to clear your mind and when you get back into it, that way it's much more fun. So, I took the week off. I had some other things going on. I just didn't have the time and I didn't want to force it, right? When it's not fun, then it's not enjoyable for you. It's not enjoyable for the people you're playing with. So I said, hey, you know what? Let's take a break. Let's quit the build. Let's refresh, and I'll get back into it this week. And so I'm actually anxious to get back into playing this week because I took the last week off, and it was good. It was a good way to cleanse the mind, and I'm ready to get back into Fortnite. I'm ready to get back into. I've been playing a lot of Cars 3, Driven to Win with my son, and so just getting back into those things this week. But sometimes you got to take a break, and that's healthy, right? We talk about being healthy gamers, being positive gamers, and sometimes that involves taking a break. So,
you know what? Bravo, succinct. There's another word for you. It's very important.
Getting full tonight.
Some weeks I bring out the fancy words. I mean, usually just for the podcast. This never happens on our game live streams, but it's an important thing to do because you're exactly right. Quit the build is all about mental health while gaming, and sometimes you don't have time to game. You know what I mean? And this is just life. I mean, we're three action dads on the go. Like let's be honest, gaming time is sparse, and so you have to make sure that when you're doing it, that it's a healthy activity for you and everybody involved. So kudos, man. But you're gonna hop right back in there, and it's gonna be that much more enjoyable when you do have time to play a game.
Sometimes when I take a break, the first time I come back, that first couple rounds, it's deadly. I come back in sharp as a needle. I'm just telling you.
I mean, we've seen you on
the controller. Yeah. And I got 10, 12 kills, a couple dubs on Fortnite. You know what I mean? Sometimes you come back sharp. You sharpen the senses, you come back better than you were.
Yeah.
So,
and speaking of coming back sharp, we have to give a huge shout out to our QTB network streamer. That is, of course, Kung Fu Penguin, aka Joel. Just had a beautiful baby boy there. Yay. Yeah, Ronan is here, and of course, he had to take a week off streaming, but I saw that he managed to start the streams back up there just yesterday. So, congratulations to Joel from everybody here at Quit the Build. Always cool to see. And I'm telling you, man, baby boys, that's what we do around these parts.
And to the mom
Yeah.
and to Amanda, they're a streaming couple. They're both out there.
Yes.
So shout out to them. Shout out to Amanda too, holding the fort down with being a new mom. So
oh yeah,
the QTB family is growing. All more boys.
Oh my gosh, the QTB family is growing, and I'll tell you what's growing, and that is the excitement around our sponsor, Winner, and their live trivia, guys. If you haven't checked it out, you are doing yourself a disservice because it's so easy to hop in and play with a real live host. To win real prizes, you get a huge ticket jackpot. All you have to do is answer all 12 of the live host questions with varying topics, pop culture, movies, video games, of course. Yours truly, Nick from QTB. I've been hosting live trivia every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's also going to be coming up tomorrow on February 1st. So make sure to check it out, guys. If you want to play the game, the link is in our bio, or you can just go to our beacons.ai/QTB if you don't have access to it. But on TikTok, you can just go to our profile there at the top left and then go to that link in our bio. You'll see a link to download Winner Live Arcade. Guys, and when you're done playing, even if you don't get the jackpot on that live trivia session, play your favorite mobile games and earn tickets in the app to redeem for your favorite prizes. They have some great Valentine's Day gifts. I love they have this Bulbasaur plush that is a pink instead of green, and it has a bouquet of roses instead of the bulb. You want to talk about the perfect Valentine's Day gift for the Pokemon fan in your life. Give him the gift of a Bulbasaur. I'm just saying, you're gonna. Brad's stunned. He's like, I know exactly what he's gonna do when the stream's over. And of course, make sure to use
That's amazing. That you can't find that everywhere, right? You got to go get that, right? I mean, that is a one of a kind prize.
Yeah, and if you win the live trivia, you'll have more than enough tickets to get that. So make sure to stop by again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'll be hosting that video game
some
themed.
Tickets banked. I might have to go buy that.
I figured the look on your face. You're thinking, oh, wait a second. I think we just got Valentine's Day in the bag. So you're welcome, Brad. So of course, don't forget to use our promo code WhatItDo when recharging your tokens at pay.app.winnerwinner.com. That link is also in our bio. You'll get a sweet deal with 45% free bonus tokens on your next purchase. Thank you, as always, to our amazing friends over at Winner Live Arcade. All right, guys, so our first big story here for the day, and this is coming from Forbes.com, talking about the launch of this new Game Pass title, Hi-Fi Rush, and specifically a surprising statistic about the sales of this game. So it did launch on Game Pass, so you do have access to it, but what is absolutely unbelievable, I think, is the fact that this game has out-earned Forspoken's launch despite it being available on Game Pass. The actual individual sales of the game on Xbox have outpaced Forspoken entirely, which is, of course, one of it was supposed to be one of the big exclusive titles for the PS5 and PC, but just kind of came up, tepid at best. But in this case, we are seeing just an incredible launch of a game that was just shadow dropped out of anywhere. I mean, Bruno, when this game released, I hadn't heard a thing about it in terms of marketing, in terms of people that were working on the game, Tango Software, that have made a lot of other big successful titles. I hadn't heard a thing about this. This is essentially a shadow drop, right?
Oh, yeah. It's something that I think Xbox is really starting to get the hang of, and they're taking a page out of Nintendo's book. I think Nintendo has always really done everything really well with basically pacing out things and saying, this is what we're going to be releasing, and it's going to be coming up fairly quickly. This came out of nowhere, and I think that's kind of how you want to drop some of these games, right? Like, instead of doing the big marketing campaigns around something like this or Sunset Overdrive like they initially did, just throw it out there and say, hey, this awesome game is now available. And I think when there's less hype, there's less of a letdown in terms of what people can build in their minds, And I think that we're starting to realize, even PlayStation, right? Like PlayStation recently announced the PSVR 2 lineup of games, and most of those games drop in February. Like it's coming up. So along with the launch of, I guess, the PSVR 2. So, I'm thankful that the games, at least marketing industry, is listening and saying, let's not build up unattainable hype around this game, and let's just let it be what it is. If it's amazing, they'll let us know. And I think we can learn a little bit from that. Brad, what's your take on something like that?
Bruno, I kind of resonate with you on this. Like, there's something to be said for the surprise element, right? I think the fact is that people just get shocked by that something's come out and they have to go check it out, and they have nothing built in their minds, like you said, like a preconceived notion of what they think the game should be, because they've seen like a trailer or a highlight or a clip of something that they think, oh, that's what I'm thinking it's going to be, and then it's not, right? I think shadow drops are really, I'm thinking back, like Apex Legends was kind of a shadow drop, right? It just kind of came out of nowhere. And look at the success it's had. And it doesn't have to emulate anything. It kind of became its own thing right away. Like we're seeing more and more now, several cases of these shadow drops being much more, in some ways, successful than these big marketed, big advertised games that really don't live up to the way that they've been marketed. And I'm wondering if that's something if there's not a good cohesion between the developers and the marketing team on how they're spinning the game out in the public and industry, right? Because you're seeing one thing and then you're getting something else when you buy it or you download it, right? Where when there's no marketing, there's no push, it's just there, you play it and the game speaks for itself. So I'm wondering if something's there, Nick. Do you feel like there's maybe not good continuity between game development and the way the game's intended to be played versus the way it's marketed to the masses?
Here's I was just talking about this with you guys because, as you know, guys, we Quit the Bill, we are heavily rooted in Halo, right? We have our origins in Halo, and I know it is Bruno's responsibility to bring up the mandatory weekly comparison to Halo. So I'm gonna tee up a softball over there, Bruno, because I have to say this, that one of the frustrations that we've been having in the games industry are games that are hyped up, that are spoken about for years and years and years, and we finally get the finished product and it sucks. It's not a good product. There's just nothing more depressing as a gamer, right? That you feel like, oh, well, you have to give it a few years, and then those few years never come, and then the game, at best, continues to just have little quality of life improvements. And instead of working on new content for the game, you get a Cyberpunk where they spend most of their time just trying to fix the game that already exists. Whereas, it's a problem because we've become weary as gamers. We really have. I really enjoyed the gaming days of yesteryear, where games would just come out and you might hear a little bit about it in like a gaming magazine or something, but the game would just drop. You'd get the reviews, you check out the game, bada bing, bada boom. I love in modern times how that can be taken to the next level by a game being released out of thin air and being not only amazing, but instantly accessible. I love that. That's the thing you couldn't do before, where now a developer can say, hey, here is our game. By the way, go get it, right? It's available now. Apex Legends did it best as a live service game. This game is now coming in clutch as a $30 title. And the point that I want to bring up, Brad, is that we have now this undebatable proof, because this is always a talking point that people want to use when they disparage Game Pass, that when a game goes on to Game Pass, that it's, you're getting all your money up front, and that there's no benefit long term to being on the service, and then over time people will forget about your game. And there's this term coming up of a Game Pass quality game, where the game is rushed out the door. The exact opposite is happening, guys. You're seeing these studios create these smaller experiences that are worth way more than the $30 price tag that you're getting come out on day one in outstanding condition. Guys, the game is outselling a PS5 exclusive, even though you could just get it on Game Pass right now. Think about how many people have Game Pass. That many more people said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just buy this game outright, support the developer, or I don't need Game Pass. This game looks good for me. The sales numbers that are popping up from this article from Forbes show it outperforming an exclusive despite the lower price point. I mean, it's a success story all around.
Right? Like
a $70
we're supposed
price point.
Forspoken $70 because PlayStation's already committed to nickel and diming their fans for exclusives because that's, they're living and dying by that. So you're right, Nick. I think that this is proof that model can work. I know you, Brad, that's something that you feel strongly about in terms of Game Pass's value to as a customer, right?
100%. I think for me, it's when those all of a sudden show up. Like, I forgot that GoldenEye was dropping, and you had sent me a message like, "Hey, GoldenEye's on Game Pass. Go grab it." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome!" Like, yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, that there's no other way to experience that, right? And I think what we're seeing is that the Shadow Drop is becoming a very business savvy strategy, right? It's not just in gaming, right? We see that with artists in the music industry. They'll just shadow drop an EP or shadow drop an album. I mean, Taylor Swift's done it, Beyonce's done it, Drake's done it. And I mean, yeah, granted, they've got that credibility in their industry, but so do these developers. So to be able to pull that out of your back pocket and just be like, yeah, hey, everyone, I got a new album, I got a new game, go pick it up. It speaks for itself. The game doesn't need to stand up to anything that's been said about it before. All it is that it's your eyes on it the first time. You get to talk about it and see it without any bias going into it. And I think we don't have that opportunity that much anymore. And I think we're losing that. There's almost kind of a jaded aspect to gaming now because there's so much hype around these. And that's the caveat with Hogwarts Legacy. We got to be careful, right? It's getting a lot of hype, a lot of push, a lot of marketing. Even some of the initial reviews are good. Okay, all of that is becoming bias in our minds as we wait for it to come out, right? So kudos to Hi-Fi Rush. I think it's another one of those, again, winning examples of where the strategy or the traditional marketing campaign for a game isn't always the right formula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is a very unique formula, right, Bruno? I mean, this game, there's a reason why it's selling well. It's because the game, it really pops. I had seen you initially when the game had dropped, because again, I had no idea when it came out. You showing it to me as it was already available on Game Pass was the first I had seen of it. Of kind of comparing it to Sunset Overdrive, even though it's more of a rhythm game in its own right. Yeah. That the visually speaking, there's definitely some Sunset Overdrive vibes coming with those bright, almost cel shaded graphics, right?
Yeah, no, it is cel shaded for sure. It's a anime style looking world, and that's something that we're not seeing a lot of. And I think that's it's very Jet Set Radio, right? And even Phil said he'd love to bring back Jet Set Radio to the modern console. And I think that this is the spiritual successor to that. It's kind of an open playground sandbox, if you will, rhythm based game. And I'm excited to kind of get in and try it. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos and stuff for YouTube, and this is one of the videos this is one of the games that I'm going to check out and see what it's all about, because I think that's where Game Pass's value comes in, right? In games like this. And to Brad's point, I think there have been a lot of overhyped games in the past few years that we have really been let down by. And I don't think there's a huge marketing push behind Hogwarts Legacy right now. I think they're going down the route of influencer, where they're letting people actually try the game and they're giving you honest, feedback and reviews. And I think that for the most part, this is going to be, this when you as a developer give an influencer free access essentially to the game and let them run around and do what they want at certain portions within the game, that's very bold. We're not seeing a lot of that now. We're seeing a lot of embargoes, and those are red flags, right? Like, we don't want you to release your review until the game comes out, just in case it flops and people don't buy it, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the red flags that we're starting to see in terms of like gaming. But when you are upfront and showing people and saying, here is the game, I think that speaks volumes. And look at the numbers already. Hogwarts Legacy is already the most sold game game of 2023, and it's not even released yet.
Yeah.
You know, so I would say the days of pre-ordering are over, but clearly not, right? As people gear up for something like this, you know, Nick, and in terms of Game Pass, you know, when you see something like this, what makes you think that, you know, where is the quality gone with Game Pass that you mentioned before, like, you know, a Game Pass title, you know, because obviously with games like Halo kind of missing the mark and going to Game Pass, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it can be a really good thing for gaming, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was just looking up a list here of you know, third-party Game Pass titles because there's just so many. You know, it really, the third party is what has propped up Game Pass the last year, right? You know, Phil's come out and said outright, like, guys, 2022 was not the year, not our year for first-party titles, and it was definitely a valid critique of Game Pass if you're looking for the exclusivity side that comes with the day one access to games that release on Xbox and PC. But I mean, it has been a very big year, I think, of last year for so many games that have come out that have been available day one. I mean, you're talking about you know, a Plague Tale had made it just across the finish line. Slime Rancher 2. I mean, I could just go on and on about all of these really solid titles that kept things going, right?
Yeah.
And that's my big point, is that instead of just pointing to one particular game, I just think that you know, there is so much importance. You know, Brad had been talking about his ability to just hop right in there and even find some deep cut games like Bejeweled. I had just popped in Peggle. Because I love Peggle. Peggle 2's on there, and my kid loves Peggle 2. So it was a lot of fun to just hop back in there and play that almost that old school mobile game, you know, before everything got overly monetized, where you can just enjoy a nice, simple, physics based kind of half puzzle, half luck based thing. I am a big fan of those types of games. But right, Brad, I mean, that's the whole perk at the end of the day is, even if you don't get those big titles for the price you're paying, I mean, you're just able to just pull from the ether just a game out of the woodwork.
Think about this. If you buy 2 AAA, you know, exclusives at $70 a pop, right? Or 2 or 3 a year, which I used to, right? I'd go for the big titles. Yeah. One, I'd never see or get to play any of those other games unless I rented them. And 2, odds are one of those 3 that I bought ended up not being that great of a game. And I've spent now over $200 on 3 games. Guess what? For $200, that's like multiple years of the Game Pass, right? I mean, we're talking 2 years of the Game Pass where you've got a lot of games at your disposal that you can pick up and play and not play at any time. Like, it's literally it's the library of games catalog, at your disposal. Right? Yeah, EA Play's in there. I mean, there's so many things. EA Play's got the Star Wars games. You've got all the you've got you've got NBA, you've got Madden, you've got everything, right? I mean, it's
that's
incredible.
A good point. Well, and it's a good point because there have been a lot of games over the years, and you know, enough of a rant on why Game Pass is awesome, because it just and I'll go for PlayStation, right? Whatever PlayStation has, when you start to include older games that you know, that were popular at some point in time, I think it allows people to kind of breathe some fresh air into it. Because
here's a throwback for you. Xbox original exclusive Fusion Frenzy is on.
Oh yeah, Fusion Frenzy, hip hop, you don't
that's what I'm
stop.
saying.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, there have been a lot of games over the years that I've wanted to get that I haven't necessarily gotten because I didn't feel like spending $60 on it, and now these games are available, and so I think, as long as PlayStation can realize that in terms of what it's competing against in terms of Xbox Game Pass versus whatever they're trying to build, that's really what gamers want. Gamers want access to all the games, right? Like, it doesn't matter if the game was released 12 years ago. I want access to it just in case, like my Netflix queue, my Netflix list. I'm not watching
and then
it,
you get these gems that come out out of the shadows, right? You get these gems that are just, pop up when you don't at least expect it. But you know what I do need though, Nick? If I'm going to keep playing Game Pass, I need something that's going to keep me energized.
Oh my gosh!
Do we got something that helps out with that?
I think I've got just the thing for you. That's our amazing partners over at Advanced GG, guys. We're talking awesome powders, supplements, even pre-mixed hand drinks. With the first ever clinically proven ingredient that helps to improve mental performance while gaming. And you're right, Brad. And listen. We're not gonna lie. We're getting there. Okay. You got a bunch of gamer dads in our 30s. And even when it's game time, I wrote that jingle about sometimes it ends up being nap time. Because you sit down on the couch and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to game. Before you know it, you haven't picked the game. You're out cold. Your gaming hour for the week is gone. And your fun is shot. Well, not with Advanced GG, because this stuff is going to give you the energy through that green tea-based caffeine that helps give you all of the energy without the crash, and an amazing supplement that's clinically proven to enhance your game. You can make that time count. All right, guys, no fillers or chalky aftertaste, countless delicious flavors to choose from. So head on over to the link in our profile again on TikTok. Just go to our beacons.ai link and look for that advanced.gg, or go there yourself. It's just advanced.gg. And then use promo code QTB at checkout to save 10% across all products site-wide. Get yourself a great deal and give yourself that edge that you need, and a little bit of energy to boot. Actually, a lot of energy to boot. Yeah.
I'm hooked. I'm ready to do my next order. I'm running out. I need to make sure I got this on hand. It is.
There you go.
Awesome. It works great.
And Ink and Sweets, a.k.a. Court Nene, saying, green tea's good for you. Yummy flavors. There you go. Yeah, a lot of people in our Discord have been talking about the flavors they've been getting. And I know, Caitlin got the strawberry shortcake flavor, and you can mix it with milk. So that's going to be a nice little... Ooh. Yeah, they don't tell you that. You read the details, like, oh my gosh, this is very much a sweet treat. So, yeah, guys, again,
maybe she could write in and get an ambrosia salad flavor. I'm just saying, you never know.
Never ends. the joke that keeps on
Mr.
joking.
Ambrosia,
it does.
yeah.
Shout out to Caitlin. I still got you. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's never going to stop. I'll tell you what will stop though, and that is our next story from GameSpot, and that is the Battle Royale game. Yeah, Rumbleverse shutting down after just 6 months as a live service game. This is very, very, I would say, not only disappointing for fans of the game, but also concerning about the state of live service games as a whole. For those of you that may not be tracking this, Rumbleverse is not an MMO, it's a battle royale, but more of a melee style, right, where you play as wrestlers in this giant city and engage in these really, really fun, complicated, I wouldn't say complicated, but very graphically intense melee battles down to the last wrestler. And unfortunately, on February 28th of this year, the Rumbleverse servers will go offline, and unfortunately, the player base just was not there. And I get it. Look, for every successful battle royale and or live service game that tries to run the battle pass, that tries to compete for your time, your attention, there's going to be 10 that fail, right? That don't even get out of early access. There's just been so many examples at this point that don't even need to be listed. But this is Epic Games. This is the big kahuna, right? That even that they're trying to have another game that competes in that space with their own monster Fortnite, and they couldn't find the market share or the crossovers or the clout in the gaming space to make the game work. And it seemed like the players that played the game enjoyed the game. There just wasn't a sustainable player base. So, Brad, when you look at articles like this, do you think that there is a concern for the big picture of, if Epic can't keep more than one battle royale off the ground, can anybody, let alone one successful Fortnite, not copy, but their take on the formula?
Well. You make several good inferences in your segue topic overview. I'll say this, when we bring these things up in our pre-show or our note, our show notes in terms of getting things set for the show, we sometimes get off on a pre-podcast conversation, and this was one that really kind of got going for the three of us, kind of pre-show. For me personally, I think there's a little bit of fatigue in the live service game aspect right now. And for this one to be shutting down so soon, I almost kind of looked at Rumbleverse as kind of a beta testing ground for Fortnite. If I'm being honest, I think Epic, if you look at how that game's played, there's enough commonality there where they were testing features in there that they could then say, okay, can we move that into Fortnite? Like, can we move, like, you look at mobility wise in that game, some things that you can jump and run and throw, like, Fortnite's gotten more mobile in the last year, and you wonder if there's a little bit of cross-pollination even from their own competing live service games, right? But if Epic can't put out, in being kind of Epic, holding Epic as one of the, I would say, industry standards when it comes to live service games with Fortnite, if they can't replicate the cake mix, right? I mean, there's just so many options out there that you don't have enough time to really devote yourself into getting into the depths of these games. You can't casually play these. You need to commit time. These are kind of not grinded out, but these are time heavy games, especially if you've got a battle pass or you've got content that you want to earn because you've paid money to subscribe to something. You can't play 5 of these. You have to kind of pick and choose which ones you play. And I think it's just to the point where there's a little bit of fatigue, at least for me, maybe not for the industry, but for me, that like, I just can't seem to get my head around another Battle Royale live service game. I just don't know if I don't have the energy for it. So, for me personally, that's where I stand. And maybe I'm Fortnite loyal. Maybe I love Fortnite so much that I don't find anything that I think does it better, but I just don't think that there's enough, like you said, gamer base out there to have these games reach the numbers that these developers want, right? They want this to be played in the millions, right? And if there's so many options out there, you're going to get a small cut of that pie.
I think this is the console version of the mobile freemium craze. Right, the timed stuff that you used to have. I mean, it's still present. It's still present in games where you've got to wait so many minutes, seconds, whatever it is, to populate certain things. I mean, this is the same version as that, and I think that I understand from a gaming aspect. There are a lot of developers that make their voices known, that the gamers who have podcasts like us and influencers don't really know what it's like to be a game developer and work in the space. And that's just simply untrue. We know our respective industries very well. And, having worked in the startup industry personally, I know how chaotic it can be to market and get a product out there, that is being developed, right? So to their point, I see that they want something long term, right? Everybody wants something long term, but at the end of the day, sometimes a simple campaign that is start to finish an experience like Hogwarts Legacy, there's no multiplayer for that. It is what it is. Maybe there'll be some DLC down the road. Maybe there'll be a Hogwarts Legacy 2. Who knows, right? But it is a single player experience. I think that we've gotten past this point where we can honestly develop a truly amazing campaign experience and an equally as good multiplayer experience. Those days are over. They died with Halo, right? And that's just plain and simple. I think when you focus on one thing and make it succinct, it can be something amazing that can fund another project, right? That's how the gaming industry works. But to Brad's point, to put everything in the same model, the same live service model, it's simply not going to work. And Halo is the perfect example of that. It's the perfect example of not executing a live service well. You can execute it perfectly, something that's really fun to play, and still have misfires if you're not if it's not the right type of game. Right. And Epic is proof of that. Like, they know how to put forth a live service. And for them to kind of drop the ball on this just goes to show you where people want these types of games. And there are a few models that are going to work out there. I think, in terms of Apex Legends and Warzone, between them, those two, and Fortnite, the shooter range has been covered. It'll be very, very hard for Halo to continue into that. And I know that's their next step. Their next step is to release this Battle Royale. There's, recent news today that dropped that basically said, they're not developing any campaign stuff. They're hitting the reset button, as it were, so you can wait for another 2 years, because that's at least how long it's going to take to get everything going, having known now that they've lost 95 people from their team. Replacing 95 people and getting them up to speed takes a little longer than, 6 months, right? Like, it takes a while to get people up to speed on what's going on. And they're basically abandoning the engine in which they made Halo. So they are literally hitting the reset button moving forward. At some point, you have to look at that and say there were some bad decisions made from the top down, right, Brad?
Well, yeah, I mean, and just kind of, tying this all together, I think it's all, I would love to see the data on this, right? I think Epic's can walk away from this a little bit better suited than 343 is going to, right? Because Epic's got a competing game, right? So they are going to be able to say, okay, well, what numbers did Rumbleverse pull in comparison to Fortnite? When we launched it, how much did Fortnite's numbers go down? And so it's giving them a pulse of the market that we're talking about. It's giving them a pulse to understand how saturated is it. Can we pull a significant number away from us, or from Warzone, or from Apex, And yeah, you're right. If you don't do it right well enough, I mean, Epic at least has the liquidity and the size to pull the plug on this and even give people refunds, right? 343 can't, and I think that's another reason why they're struggling, and they have to hit the reset button, because you have to start from scratch. You have to give players in the industry and the consumers mindset that this is going to be brand new. There is nothing legacy tied to Halo Infinite, unfortunately, which means, people who spent a lot of money on Halo Infinite or into the Battle Pass, or bought coins early on and paid a premium for that game currency, you're kind of screwed, right? So, Nick, what do you think? Do you think there's got to be data out there that shows us, that can corroborate what we're seeing here with this potential saturation, or these clones of this live stream, this live service game format?
It's so simple. If you want to have a successful Battle Royale or live service game in 2023, stop doing what Fortnite was doing 5 years ago. And even Fortnite, or Epic Games is guilty of this. We at the very beginning of this conversation, Brad, you brought up the point that I think is the most valid for me, which is time is limited, and these games are all competing for your time, because when you invest in the Battle Pass, you get nothing initially. You might get one trinket, right? But you've put money in, and now you've got to put time in to make that money worth it. So not only is it FOMO, it's FOMO where it's actually, with sunken cost fallacy also kind of attached to it as well. I look at battle passes like Fall Guys. I think that they are still, Mediatonic is still just stuck in the past. SpongeBob is the tier 100 costume, right? Everybody wants SpongeBob, and they know it, which is why they make you work all the way towards the end to do it. But Fortnite isn't doing that these days. You don't need to get to the end of the battle pass to get the stuff you want. You get to pick and choose. And there is a progression. You can't just go straight to Doom Guy. You have to kind of, bip and bop along. But you can still pick and choose what you want to make sure that, I don't like anything in this particular tier. I'm just going to get the V-Bucks. I'm going to get the sticker or the loading screen, and then just move on to the next tier. And by doing so, it values your time while they're still getting their money. And I understand that they want to keep, fresh players in the game. But you cannot, so many of these battle pass systems, Sea of Thieves, Fall Guys, and Halo Infinite did the same thing, but with even lower quality items on that battle pass. So if everyone is going to try and FOMO up a person at the same time, Of course there's saturation. You have to tune out the noise. You can only be subjected to so much FOMO, and Lord knows Fortnite knows like every other day there's something new in there that you've got to go check out. So
and we're not even talking about Rocket League.
Yeah.
You know, Rocket League is another one, you know, that has a very, very steady player base out there, and it's a fun game, and there are some great looking cars and stuff like that, you know, attached to the later parts of, you know, their battle pass. So, you know, it really comes down to, do you have the player base to support something like this, right? What are you giving your players of value, and can you increase that to something that's also valuable at the end game, right? Because even if, you know, in Fortnite's example, they kind of give you something at the beginning, in the middle, and then at the end. And then there's end game stuff as well, which is like additional stuff that you can get, you know, within the battle pass. So I think that there are a lot of great ideas that you can take from that. And, you know, what we see in a lot of industries is something we talked about, you know, off podcast, was people trying to come in and make their splash, right? People trying to come in and leave their mark on the game and change it in some way so they can say, no, they didn't just adapt that, they also changed it or improved it in some way. And sometimes, you know, there is no way to improve. Like, you know, you take what it is and take the model that works and say, you know, let's try it out first and see if we can add something later down the road that might improve it. But, you know, what do you think, Nick?
Okay, here's what I think. I think, you know, if only, guys, there was some kind of live service that gave you a ton of value at the beginning, middle, and end, and for an amazing value as well. Oh, wait, I'm being told it's our Patreon. Yes, guys, visit patreon.com/quitthebuild, because for as low as $2 per month, $2, I dare you to find a battle pass with $2. You'll be able to get tons of bonus content. I'm talking 50 plus hours of bonus podcast, extended episodes of this podcast, including the pre-show and the post show that you don't even hear when we're live streaming. I got fun facts, of course, our bonus podcast, QTB Nights, and our QTB Nostalgia Vault podcast. You get the whole back catalog of that. The perks go on, and you got ringtones of some of my favorite jingles that I've made. You really can't go wrong with the value that you get, and it all supports us in such a direct way, okay? So head on over to patreon.com/quitthebuild. The link to that is in our beacons.ai link, or of course, if you're listening to this podcast or watching later on, you can find that in the show notes as well. And thank you, as always, to our Patreon, QTB and Fuego supporters: Epic Capture Productions, Matt.Bat, Alexa, Caitlin, Josh, Courtney, Megan, Ashley, and Andrea, and our QTB Plus subscribers. That's Nick the Dudist Monk, Indie Gamiacs, Alan Abadessa, Mr. Grove Games, the Intergalactic Pinecone, Fluffy Bunny, and Terry the Kitten. One of these days, that list is going to get so long that I can't do it in one breath, and that's when we know that we made it, boys.
That's when we hired the guy from the Micro Machines commercial and Mr. Testaverde. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that guy got a whole infomercial in 10 seconds, man. It was.
That's the guy that, the old guy that used to do the "Let's Get Ready to Rumble." He could hold that note for days. So,
that's less information, just very hype. Let's get ready for Patreon. Awesome
let's
stuff.
Get ready for QTB nights.
Oh, I think we should get ready. I think you should get ready for quitthebuild.com, because that website has got everything you're going to need, from our, of course, amazing merch, our blog. Check out our network partners. So many. Oh, yeah, that shirt is available, and also available on our newly launched qtbshop.com with new designs like the Big Poyo tee, of course, Devil's Bradvocate, if you enjoy a good a Brad counterpoint there that he is so famous for. Brad to the bone, baby. That's it.
Wait a minute.
Spread that on a cracker. Write that down. Oh, man. But great stuff. Again, it's all there for you at quitthebuild.com. You like that, guys? We got all
and
that.
The merch, QTVshop.com.
Yes, yeah. The new shop is qtbshop.com. More than one option right now. Of course, we do have the merch currently on our website. That's actually fulfilled through Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, that's actually a good choice for you. But of course, the new designs and all of our new merchandise going forward is going to be on qtbshop.com. So stay tuned because we've got some exciting stuff in the works there that will soon be listed. All sorts of cool goodies and merchandise that you definitely have not seen before. So I think that's all that we got for the podcast. What do you got for the people there, Bruno?
Nick, it has been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. We're all going to give a wave to everybody out there. Thank you so much for joining the QTB podcast. You've been fantastic. For Nick and Brad, I'm Bruno.
For Bruno and Brad, I'm Nick.
For Nick and Brad, I'm Bruno.
Peace out. But it do.
Stay classy, San Diego.
The Bill